Hey, my name is Grady Hurley. I'm a professional MMA fighter, professional boxer, and also the owner of Ultimate Fitness and MMA here in Tupelo, Mississippi. Growing up as a child, I was overweight and pretty overweight. I was 300 pounds all throughout high school, and I have ADD, ADHD, and so I was hyperactive, and so I probably got on the other kids' nerves a little bit, and you combine that with also being the fat kid, and I got bullied every day, either physical or emotional, verbal bullying, and that's left me with scars, but it's also what motivated me to change it at some point. Went through prom, junior, senior year, prom, no prom dates, never had a girlfriend. And so that combined with the bullying and the constantly being taunted and picked on, that it made me want to change, made me want to change my life, change the trajectory of my life. I wanted to be somebody else. After getting beat up every day for so often, it makes you fight back, or it makes you learn how to fight back. And so after I graduated from Hatley in 1999, I was weighing about 300 pounds. My cousin was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here in Tupelo. And I tried lifting weights, I tried running, and that just bored me. I tried dieting, and I love food too much. So that wasn't a good option for me. So I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I fell in love with it. Over the course of the next year, I lost 100 pounds, and I just transformed my whole life. I went from being bordering 300 pounds to being around 200 pounds. And not only did it change me physically and the way that I looked, but it also had a big change on me mentally. It gave me more self-confidence, self-assurance, and it helped create who I am today. After about 6 months of training just jiu-jitsu and a little bit of Tan-Su karate, and for my stand-up, I had my first MMA fight. I never had any aspirations of being like a pro MMA fighter or even having 2 MMA fights. I just wanted to do it to say that, hey, I did that. So 9 minutes and 39 seconds later, I got my hand raised. I was scared. I was bad scared. And I wasn't fully prepared. I mean, 6 months of doing jiu-jitsu, that isn't enough for someone to have an MMA fight. Back in the year 2000, it might have been. But so I was underprepared, but I had a lot of heart. And besides a lot of heart, I had the last, 12 years of getting into fights at school, people jumping on me, beating on me, and that sort of toughens you up. It gives you a little bit more resolve. And after that, it was like, wow, not only did I do this, but I won. Let me have another one. And so a couple months after that, I had another fight, and Dan Severn was the main event. So that was a pretty cool thing. And Quentin Rampage Jackson also fought on that card. I fought, I think it was Jacob Noe, and he was really in shape, really strong guy from Memphis, one of Rampage's training partners. And I still, even though I'd lost the weight, I wasn't in really strong or really great shape, or really talented or technical. And he beat me, and I think in the first or second round. And I went on to from there. I started out 2-2. I won 2 fights, lost 2 fights. I was a 500 fighter, and but after that point, I got really serious with my training, and I finished up my amateur career in 2001, 11-3, and so that was a pretty good amateur record. And in 2001, I turned professional. I had my first professional fight in Texas, Dallas, Texas. And it's supposed to be a 4-man tournament at 185 pounds. And I'd gotten down in such good shape. I'd got down to 185 pounds, soaking wet. And I get there for the rules meeting the day before, and the promoter's like, "Well, guys, we had a couple guys drop out, so to make this be a 4-man tournament, we're going to have to do this at 205 pounds. And so I literally had to go eat a big meal and then weigh in. And I still didn't meet the minimum threshold for the 205 weight pound class. You had to weigh like 188 or something. And so they told me I had an hour to put on 2 or 3 pounds. And don't tell the Texas Commission this, but when I re-weighed back in an hour later, I had rolls of change in my pockets, and I met the 188 minimum threshold. When I got there for the rules meeting, they told us, well, in the state of Texas, they don't sanction MMA. This is back in 2001, mind you. We were all like, well, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be playing paper, rock, scissors, tic-tac-toe. And they told us to get around the rules, we're going to have y'all fight without gloves, and you have to hit each other with open palms. We're talking about pancration. And this is not anything that I've ever trained to do. I don't go around slapping people, every Saturday or Sunday. But I didn't have my return ticket home. So it was either fight these guys that had 20, 30 pounds on me in this 4-man tournament in a style that I never trained in, pancration, or I guess I could have figured out another way back to Mississippi. The first guy I fought was, I think his name is Jason Ebarb. He was a purple belt at the time, and a purple belt back in 2001. That was a big deal. In the second round, I did some Randy Couture dirty boxing on him, and I threw a knee to his stomach, and that bowed him over a little bit. I took this palm and I smashed it in his eardrum, and he dropped like a sack of potatoes. The pay structure was, it was 4-man tournament, and all 4 guys got paid $250. The winner of the tournament got a $1250 bonus. Even though I won a fight that night, I was going to get paid the same as the 2 losers. But so that main event was a big fight. It's $1,250 bonus, and we fought 3 rounds and it went to decision. And I just couldn't overcome the weight differential. He had like 30 pounds on me, and he kept on. I'd get double underhooks, and he would do like a wizard and end up in my guard, and they stand us up, and so he won by decision. So that was a great learning experience for me, and that was the beginning of my professional MMA career. After that 4-man tournament in Texas, I had 5 more fights, and I won all 5 of those. One of the last ones was I had a manager at the time, Derek Amato, and he flew me up to Denver, Colorado to fight Bad Brad Blackburn. And Brad Blackburn was a big up-and-comer. He had only, I think, had 1 loss at the time. He's like 7-1 or 7-0-1. I think he had never been beaten at the time. And he was one of Dennis Hallman's guys. I got a big opportunity to fight him, and we went 2 rounds, and I won by decision. And I believe I had one other fight after that. I fought in Houma, Louisiana. I fought Dave Benefield. And I really got to work my stand-up, because I've been working my boxing a lot before that fight. And I probably hit him with a jab 50 times in the fight. I cut him open real good. And that sort of set the tone for that fight. And I got to display my stand-up a lot. And at that time, everybody only knew me as a ground fighter. Grady's got to get you to the ground. And so that was my first fight that I got to display my stand-up abilities. And that was only about 2 weeks after my fight in Denver. And then about 2 weeks after that fight is when I had my bad car wreck, which would have been around, I guess, March of 2002. At 7 a.m., I was driving into Amory, and they said, went to sleep at the wheel, and my foot went down the accelerator, and I went head first into an oncoming traffic. It only broke the other person's leg. For me, it crushed my upper and lower jaw. It knocked a lot of my top teeth out. It knocked part of my upper jaw out. They had to take bone fragment from my hip to rebuild my upper jaw to make it look normal. It dislocated my left hip. When my mom and dad came and saw me at the ER, I looked like the Elephant Man. Like, I was just filleted open. They thought that I was going to be disfigured the rest of my life, or either have to go through a series of cosmetic surgeries that changed the course of my life. Because at that time, you know, college wasn't a priority. A wife, a child, that wasn't my priority. You know, just myself was a top priority. And so, you know, sometimes I wonder if I wouldn't have had that wreck, you know, would I have gone on to have had a super successful professional MMA career and wound up in the UFC and maybe, you know, made some good money, or, you know, or got some good national fame? Maybe even likely. But would I have realized the things that I've realized about what's really important in life, about loving people, about having respect for people, about respecting my own life, and that life is but a vapor. You only live once, you know, all those sayings that they have. You know, you really appreciate how fragile life is when you're faced with a situation where it's almost taken away from you. When the doctor came into my room, my jaws were wired together, so I was talking like this. But the first thing that I asked him was, how long before I'll be able to fight again? And he looked at me with a smile, and he chuckled and laughed. He said, son, it'll be a year before you're walking right again. Your fighting days are long gone. And I was 21 at this time. And so, I mean, that really didn't register for me. But when I tried to walk for the first time, that registered for me. After my car wreck, it changed everything in my life. Instead of going and fighting once every 2 weeks, once every 4 weeks, and a new city and a new town, and getting to hang out at this bar, this club, and living the life of a professional fighter, living the life of a professional athlete, I started working at a factory. I had to make ends meet. I had to bring money in. I had to start thinking about, okay, what's my future really going to look like? During this time, I was in a lot of pain. I mean, my jaws were crushed. My hip was dislocated. They put me on a lot of pain medication. I was on about every type of pill form of pain medication, liquid form of pain medication, and even cream form. And they basically gave me enough that they said, here, you need to take this for the rest of your life to be able to get through life. And that really delayed my comeback to getting to 100%. I lost years of my life dealing with these issues and this dependency on these substances. My early 20s, you know, it's hard for me to really remember in detail. You know, if I wouldn't have went through all these struggles, the bullying in school, the being made fun of, not having any friends, never going to anybody's house to spend the night, everything in my life shaped who I am today. And it's took a long time to get there, but I can honestly say now, I'm happy with who I am today. I'm happy with, I love my wife, April. I I love my daughters, Addison and Benna. I love my gym family here at UFM. And so if I wouldn't have went through all those struggles, and another struggle was having to work in a factory, having to work as a merchandiser for Walmart's for $12 an hour. Going through all of that, and then finding April, I guess we've been married 9 years now, that she was a big influence and change on my life. And I had no video or photographs. I didn't have anything to ever prove that I was a amateur or professional MMA fighter or amateur boxer, amateur kickboxer. I had nothing but stories. And stories get old after a while, or so I found out. And watching so many UFCs and judging local MMA fights, I would look at guys in the cage and she would hear me say, "Why is he doing this?" or "Why is he doing that? Why isn't he doing this? Man, he's so stupid." And I would get so animated and so frustrated. And April finally looked at me one day and she said, "Well, if you think you can do it so much better than them, why don't you?" And I was 33 at the time. And I was really, it took me back when she said that. And I asked her if she realized the proposition she was laying before me. You know, because if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this 100%. I'm not going to do anything 50% or 80% or 90%. And she said, she told me that I would regret it if I didn't. She could see the passion in my heart and my eyes, and that she would stand by my side. And so at 33, after a 12-and-a-half-year layoff, I started back training. And I had my first fight against Jeff Wiley in Tunica. I didn't really know what to expect, you know, because I'd been out of the fight game for 12-and-a-half years. As everybody in the fight game knows, it's constantly evolving. Could I evolve with it? You know, and I even questioned myself. And I went out there, and I feel like I crushed my Jeff Wiley, my opponent. The ref stopped in the first round. And that gave me a lot of confidence that not only can I hang with these guys, but I can still dominate these guys. And that led into my comeback that's lasted the last 5 years. Over these years, so I was 6-1 and I finished 16-3. So over the last 5 years, I've went 10-2 in professional MMA, and also had a professional boxing match that I won. And I won the V3 middleweight title. I won the SFC middleweight title. I fought some really good guys: Ben Brewer, Taylor Collins, Dustin Rhodes, Joel Cooper. And then I fought some really tough guys like Teddy Holder. I tried to go up a weight division and fight him, and that wasn't a good idea. That taught me right quick I need to stay in my own weight division. But I fought, you know, the top 1%, like Kevin Holland. I fought him on national television. I got to fight twice on national television during this comeback. And I fought him, and he caught me with a flying scissor knee. And the ref stopped the fight. Now he's in the UFC. The losses that I experienced, it doesn't make me feel bad at all. They're learning lessons. I finished up 16-3 as a pro MMA fighter, 1-0 professional boxing. Had a couple amateur kickboxing matches, and more importantly than all that, and you know, the whole Grady Sioux Hurley, the whole Sioux Nation thing, that's awesome. And everybody that supported me, that has supported me and still support me, that means so much to me, and I appreciate that so much. But the gym, the Ultimate Fitness MMA, UFM, the people in the gym. It's not about the building. It's not about the bags behind me or this boxing ring. You know, these are just things. But the people that are in this gym and the relationships that I have with them whether they're my training partners or my students or my coaches. I mean, that's my real family. Those are my best friends. Those are the people that I'm going to go and check on if they're sick in the hospital. If I'm sick in the hospital, I know they're going to come check on me. So going from having no friends in school and being picked on all the time and being overweight and living a toxic life, going through that toxicity, to what I'm doing now and helping people live their best version of themselves, helping them achieve that, helping them, maybe extend the quality of their life, maybe helping them have better quality of life, maybe getting into a smaller size jean or wearing a smaller size shirt. Maybe it's just the mental, the endorphins that are going off, and the getting out of the depressed state. Before I started back training, I was on antidepressants. I was on things for social anxiety. I was on a laundry list of medications because I wasn't happy. But I wasn't happy because I wasn't training. And you don't have to train to be a professional athlete to get that mental high, to get those endorphins flowing. All you have to do is train consistently, whether that is 2, 3, 4 times a week. You need to work out and train, but what's also as important is you need to train around people that help push you and lead you in the right direction, and that push you to do your best and be your best. And that's what I'm really proud of about this gym and UFM. It's not about the bones, it's not about the building, it's about the people. And I really feel like, whether it's me or whether it's someone that hadn't been here for 2 months, we all are here for the same reason, and that's to have fun, get great workouts in, get better, and just be happy. So after I was back training for a month or 2, I got off all my antidepressants. I got off of all my basically almost all the medicines I was taking for not being happy. I quit taking. And I'm not saying I'm not giving that advice for other people, but it's possible. If you are battling depression, or if you're battling some type of mental disorder, or if you're just in a bad place, go work out. Don't only just go work out around people with a similar mindset, similar goals as you. The importance of dealing with adversity is, whether it's bullying, whether it's being overweight, whether it's having a bad car wreck, don't let that define you. That may define a part of your life, but that doesn't have to define your future. That doesn't have to define who you are right now. And so what I would say is, go and surround yourself around people that you see. Those are people that I want to be like. I'm not saying try to be like those people, but those people are working out all the time, and they look happy, they smile all the time. Go and put yourself around those people. My mom and dad, one thing they always taught me, birds of a feather, they flock together. And so if you hang around people that are moping or they're complaining about things that happened to them in the past all the time, well, then you're more than likely to be like that. And I could be like that, but I choose not to. I'm not going to let the fact that I was bullied, or the fact that I had a horrible car wreck, or whatever, or I missed out on a chance to be this famous UFC fighter. That's not what's going to define me. What's going to define me is my comeback, what I did in the face of that adversity, and also what I do for the next 20, or more years, that's what I'm going to let define me. What I do right now, our interaction right now, my interaction with people tomorrow, that's what I'm going to let define me. Don't let your adversities be what define you. Don't be the person that every day, complains about this or that. The reason my life isn't good is because this happened to me, or the reason I did this is because that happened to me. Use it as fuel and motivation to change your life. Don't use it as a crutch to stay stagnant and stay in a rut because this bad thing or that bad thing happened. Use it as fuel and motivation to improve your life.